Hey friends, this is Jason from Subculture Garage Works, and today I'm installing a chain drive on the Black Velvet Bobber. Now I've run into a couple of unique problems with this particular install, and I'd like to share those problems with you as well as the solutions in case you run into similar issues on your own build. Now, the donor bike for this project is a 1991 Sportster. All the motor parts for the top end are currently at the powder coater. As soon as those come back with a brand new finish, I'm going to build that motor, so stay tuned for that video. Now, 1991 happens to be the first year Harley produced the Sportster with a belt drive, but for this particular project, I want to convert that to a chain drive. This is the wheel that we're using in the rear. This is an aftermarket 40-spoke wheel that's intended for a 2000 and later Sportster. Now, I did that intentionally. I like the sealed wheel bearings that come in the late model wheels, as opposed to the 99 and earlier wheels, which had wheel bearings that had removable dust covers. The sealed bearings tend to be less prone to contamination due to dust and moisture, so it's because of that that I like to use the late model wheels pretty much whenever I can. Now, some of you know the hubs of these wheels have a little retaining lip, and the lip on the later model wheels is slightly larger than the earlier model wheels. And that means anything that bolts up to the rear wheel, like the brake rotor or the drive sprocket, needs to be specifically designed for a 2000 and later application. So when I was looking for a chain drive conversion kit, I looked for something that would fit a 2000 and later Sportster, knowing full well that I was going to need to do some sort of modification to make that work with my 91 power plant. So this is the rear sprocket that came with the kit that I found, and as expected, that slides right on. All the bolt holes line up, so there's no issues there. Now, the front sprocket that came with the kit, we'll take a look at that from the side profile, and we can see it's a pretty thick sprocket, and it also has a little bit of an offset to it. Now, we can slide that onto the transmission shaft here. And when we do, we can see that there's one, maybe 1.5 threads exposed on the end of that shaft. And that means I'm never going to get this nut on there torqued down to factory specs. Additionally, if we had the rear wheel installed and we look down the drive line, we could see that the two sprockets don't actually line up. The front sprocket is further away from the center line than the rear sprocket is. So problem number one, the front sprocket doesn't slide down the main shaft of the transmission far enough. Now, I did a little bit of research, and I learned that in 1995, Harley-Davidson changed the design of the spacer and the seal setup here on their transmissions. So if we pull this stock spacer out, you can see that's pretty thick. That is 850 thousandths of an inch thick. This is a spacer from a mid-90s Sportster. That is 600 thousandths of an inch thick. So you can see if I replace the stock spacer with the later model spacer, I'll be able to slide that sprocket further down the main shaft. Now, problem number two is a fairly simple problem to solve. The outer diameter of the new spacer is slightly larger than the outer diameter of the old spacer, so this seal that goes into the transmission case and is meant to make contact with the spacer, that is also going to need to be replaced. Luckily for us, the newer style seal has the same outer diameter as the hole in the transmission case, so this will slide right in to our 91 transmission, even though it's meant for a 95 and later bike. Now, if you find yourself in a similar situation and you want to make this same modification, the part numbers for the seal and for the spacer are included in the description of this video, and they're available from any Harley shop or any number of aftermarket online vendors.